Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Commodity Insights podcast with the crew at Farmers Trading Company. I think we'll get started talking about the little turnaround Tuesday we had in the grain markets yesterday, and then continued into today with some more weakness. Planting progress, I guess, is kind of what slowed that market, is what it seems. Corn is right in line with the 5-year average now. They got kind of caught up with that, and the I states are caught up. The beans, they are ahead of the 5-year average there a little bit, and so that's hurt that market and gave it some weakness. Wheat's kind of dragging corn around, but overall, not a lot of fresh news there besides that. What are your thoughts there, Vince, with these grain markets, the corn and the beans especially here? Are they going to find some support here, or what levels are you looking at there?
Where they're going to find it. Corn's about halfway down on the stochastics that we like to watch, and you were fairly overbought on both corn and beans, and it needed a correction. The real question is, can demand and other news out there be good enough to get somebody to be an interested buyer? We are getting to that time of year. It's probably a little early for a high yet, but you're in that window, and you got to be a little careful, I believe, on just where this thing may go and what it does. But I would think on looking at July corn, 453 to 451 should be pretty good support. If we get through that, then we're probably looking at that mid 440s. Could they do more than that? Yes. There was some stories out on Tuesday morning that Argentina was going to start exporting corn to China, which they have not done for decades, mostly because of GMO concerns, which China's really gotten away from the last couple of years. So that wasn't news that we needed. We have been lacking the past several days any sales of any meaningful thing that's consistent on daily items there. So I think it's a combination of maybe a little bit of lack of demand and weather being pretty good. Some of those forecasts on Tuesday did dry out a bit for the next 2 weeks also.
And then looking over at the wheat market there, we put in fresh highs, I guess, yesterday before we had a hard sell off, and then today attempted to try and make some progress into the green, but every time they tried, it just failed. Thoughts on that wheat market, Vince, and where it's headed? Is the news out of Russia going to win out with the drought there and the unfavorable conditions, or is it more Kansas wheat tour news that the wheat crop down there looks pretty good?
I think it's really of, are we getting overextended or not? As we looked at Monday night when the markets opened, you gapped higher in that wheat market, 20 to 25 higher after a few minutes. Most of that predicated on Russian analysts, guys out there, different agencies talking about another 2 million metric ton decrease in that crop, which gives you 12 million decrease in probably 10 days. Also, some note that Ukraine could lose up to 1 to 1.5 million metric tons. That's just not on wheat, though. That's on the whole crop. And then you've also got some notes of maybe a million and a half metric ton drop in the European wheat crop. All of that added up. But when that thing started to sell off on Tuesday morning, I think you had to be a little careful. And that's really what helped to tip the corn and the beans over, I think, early in the session after some modest gains on the open. In where it can go, I'm not sure you do a lot higher than we did on Monday night in here into Tuesday morning. After you take a break, could they do that if they got the right news? Yes, but I think it's going to take a little more confirmation of what that crop is actually like before you're going to do a lot more running.
And then moving on to the livestock markets here, volatile to say the least, I guess, with that cattle market. After the cattle on feed report last Friday, and then opening the week on Tuesday here and racing higher. And then today, about mid-session, we just had a nosedive here, and not a lot of fresh news, I guess, that we could find. But overall, do you think that this market's still going to remain healthy after today, or do you think we're going to see some more sell-offs in the future here?
I think the market is okay, but are you going to see some more sell-offs? I think you actually could. Could you see $6 to $8 in the Fed cattle? Could you see $10 or better in the feeders? Yes, it wouldn't take much to do that. Uh, and again, we're pretty well overbought in those, and your timing of highs or lows somewhere near that cattle on feeder report looming in there made you wonder a little bit yesterday. I think we all wish that we could have gotten August feeder cattle up to that 466, or excuse me, 266 to 267 level where you had trend line resistance before you made a sale. But I thought we made a few of those on Tuesday, and I think the Fed cattle are much closer to those lines, those downtrend lines that we had from the highs of last fall and then the highs earlier this year. Uh, And again, I'm not sure you got the right news to get through that right now. Cash has been strong. Packer is making decent money in here, but I'm not sure it's going to run away to the upside short term.
And then taking a peek at that hog market there, it looked like it was maybe finding some chart support there and some seasonal support. But yet we keep slipping lower and lower. Today we were trying to make a higher, or we did make a higher high, I guess, but then we came back and made a lower low as well. What are your thoughts on that hog market, Vince? Are the fundamentals there to support this thing, or is it just going to continue to sell off?
I think right now you got a psychology problem when you look at that, Connor. For most of the day until the last half hour, you really thought you were maybe going to finally find a day that wasn't lower than the previous days. And we only did it by one tick, which is maybe a bit encouraging. And then it found some buying, but we need to have, the last person that's along this market that thinks they need to get out to get out. And that's what's going to turn it right. Are we there? When you look at all the technical things, you're at some really good levels to hold in here, but I think you got to take it day by day and see if we can hold.
And do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share, I guess, or things you heard this last week that need to get out there about anything with the commodity world or any of these ag commodities?
Not in particular, Connor. I think we just need to watch them. You are at a seasonal time of year in that grain markets from here to the next 3 weeks, maybe four, that you could put a top in. And let's not forget that we've had decent rains. We've definitely changed that drought context in most of the country. As we look at the livestock on the cattle side, it's a strong market. We have tight numbers, but we just never know what black swan comes up next. And I think that was a lot of Wednesday sell off, whatever it might have been. It doesn't take a heck of a lot to tip that market. And let's not forget, on Wednesday, stock market down nearly 400 points most of the day. That might have been part of what tipped us too as we went through the day. They shouldn't correlate as close as they do, but when the stock market's down, it definitely has an effect on that fed cattle market.
I think that's going to do it for this week's podcast. If we could be of any further assistance to you, check out our website, farmerstradingcode.com, for more information, or give us a call at the office. Our number is 605 996 6500. Thank you.